And then the greatest part about Revelation chapter 1 is it tells us who and what the author is. And it's written in an amazing fashion. It's written in a way which is called an Epanados. Now, an Epanados is like a chiasm, except that instead of describing events, it quotes in a certain sequence. So, for example, this Epanados consists of a series of quotes which want to highlight a particular point. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 4, you read about a witness, and it's a quote from, it's Revelation 1 verse 5, and it's a quote from Isaiah. And if you go to the end of it, there's another quote in Revelation 1 verse 16, which is also from Isaiah. Then there is another point, the second point mentioned, Revelation 1:7, talks about the coming with the clouds. It's a quote from Daniel chapter 7:13. And then you have one at the end here, Revelation 1:13, where it talks about the priest, and it's a quote from Daniel 7:9. And so the first and the last is from Isaiah, the second and the second last is from Daniel, the third and the third last is from Zechariah, and then there are two in the middle. Boom, boom. That lifts out the central theme. That's an Epanados. And the central theme is, I am the Alpha and the Omega. If you take one away, you don't have an Epanados. There must be two in the middle. So some Bibles say, well, the Bible repeats itself. Why say this twice? Take out the one. Well, you destroy the structure. You cannot take one word out of the Bible or you're in trouble. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord. Well, we better make sure we read all of it. All of it. Whole lecture coming on that topic. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, the book of Revelation chapter 1 proves that Jesus Christ is the great I am. He is God. Now that's a problem today. That's a problem. Because if Jesus is God, and if Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and if Jesus is the only way whereby you can be saved, well, then you have a problem. If you want to be in the same pot with all the other religions of the world. Because Jesus has to become a little bit less in order to fit into the same level as all the others. Now we have a problem. Obviously, the world cannot afford one group to say that it has a superior religion over any other group. Would you agree with me? In the world that we're living today, you cannot have that. So Jesus has to be made a little bit less so that the others can be a little bit more. How do you achieve that? You create the pain of exclusiveness. In other words, you make it so painful to be exclusive that you'd rather choose to be less exclusive. Does that make sense? Think about that. Either he is what he says he is, or he is not what he says he is.